So these are wet into wet techniques for black. And I'm going to start with lamp black, which is this gouache tube. It also comes in watercolor. Lamp black is very, very black. So we're going to see what it looks like. And this is more of a watercolor brush. So what's interesting about it is the irregularities, which is kind of nice. Now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a wet, just clear wet down and see what happens. Now this is a gouache lamp black, but it does come in watercolor, and I kind of see what's happening with it there, so I can also pull it. Now the thing about wet into wet is you just have to be willing to let it do what it's going to do and have all the accidents. You cannot fix, but you can take it into Photoshop and capture the areas that you really liked. So see, I have to sort of, and I'm drying off the brush, I have to kind of watch what's happening here. And if I want to do fur, then I'm going to pull all of this out, dry the brush off, pull it out. And at a certain point I have to stop because it's going to start setting up and it won't work with it. Now it's still a little wet over here, so I'm going to see how that might work. That's kind of interesting. But these irregularities in the way it dries are part of the beauty of it. So you cannot make it just flat black. If you want to do that, you know, use thick gouache or acrylic, or just go straight to Photoshop. The other one that we're going to try is India ink, and this one. And we're going to go straight from the bottle, so I don't really have enough clean water yet, but we'll try it. And I'm going to wet this down, a band, and then take the India ink and see what we get. And I usually like to let it soak in a little bit and not pool too much before I start this. So it's not that it dries, I just don't want it pooling in one spot. And this is watercolor paper. And I just have to watch to see what it's going to do. You just have to allow it its thing. I could probably work a little bit with it, but I have to be willing to see it's starting to fill in. So I have to be willing to let it be irregular. And I'm going to dry it and try and pull some of the liquid from it. It was a little too wet, and then I can also go in and with the, as long as the brush will give me fine lines, I can start to pull out these areas of, if I'm doing fur or even if I'm doing a feather, and we'll do a feather as a separate thing. So see, it's starting to dry along the bottom here, so there's only so much I'm going to be able to do, and I just have to accept that. That's the way it is. So I leave that. Now, a lot of times what I will do when I get into Photoshop is if I find an area of the bleed that I truly love, I may take clone stamp and paint with that in other sections, because this is all accidental. And you just don't know what you're going to get. So I'm going to let that set up. See, we're pooling up here. I need to get rid of some, but see, as I pull up, see, now it's starting to, you can't overwork it. And India ink is waterproof. Once it's down, it's down. So the one beauty of that is that once this is done, I can actually go over it with another layer and it won't pick up what's underneath, whereas this one it will. So you see that the blacks diffuse more here, they stay blacker here, but you have this almost like a tidal edge along here. So then the next one we're going to try is soft pastel black, and I'm going to show you a couple of things. So you can smear it and just dry. or we'll try 3 different ways. Whoops, I'm dripping. We can try just bleed around it. So see, I can kind of control it. I have to scrub it a little bit, and this is why you have to have a heavy paper to do this, because you're going to do a little scrubbing. I can pull it out on the edges and make this sort of fur silhouette, because even if that's not dark enough, I can always come back later once that sets up and darken it. What's interesting is that the water, once the water starts dissolving the pastel, it tends to be more permanent than it is when it's just dry. Because as soon as I put water into it, it starts dissolving it. But once this sets up, it may be something in the binder that's in the pastel. And the other one we're going to do is the black Tombow pen. And the black in this is a different color than some of the other blacks. And this is a black water brush, so I'm going to make sure it's got water in it. There we go. We see that we get a bleed. So I have to keep cleaning the brush off. And so this outer section is clear water. The inner section is, so see, as soon as I start having a dirty brush, I get an edge. So if I clean off the edge of the brush, there we go. So I can mimic this. And I can also pull into here, but I have to keep kind of drying the brush. And see, I'm making the brush flat. Making the brush flat. So this is the riskiest, the India ink on black, because you see, you don't really know what's going to happen to it. It's still a little damp. I'm going to try a white gel pen. This one is dry enough. I just want to see, yeah, so it'll cover. So the white gel pen, I could turn this into a feather, and I could take this, bring it out. Maybe the feather goes up into here, and also take a fine line, and I kind of like ballpoint pens to do delicate lines. Pull it out from here. Maybe continue this, the shaft of the feather down, pull it out more here, and maybe even go in with a pilot razor point. Now, the pilot razor points are not waterproof, so I tend to use them last. So this has got kind of an interesting arty look to it. Now this little splotch, I don't know if I really want to keep it, but there might be things up here. You know, what if I have the feather silhouette, and what if I want to bring it out into here? And I can't have it just sort of sticking out like that. I have to give it a shape. And then there's the shaft of the feather, but I have to give it a shape. So I can also go in with the white and pull back up into it. So it's this back and forth of the two. This is still not quite dry enough. Yeah, I can go in with it. So this is the lamp black again, and I'm pulling in to here. So I see that this white gel pen tends to break up a little bit if it's still damp. But I can start, what I can do here is start breaking up this harsh line that happened here. And this can become a lot of line with just the wash at the base. So I can start pulling the black out. Looks like the black was picking up some of the white pen. Some of that, and I could even take a little bit of this if that's not quite working. Mixed media. So see, I'm taking this, and look at that, it makes it a rich black. And the one thing I find with this media, I can't imitate the accidental part of it in Photoshop, but I can get halfway there, where I have some really cool accents, and accents that, things that happen that I don't like, I can get rid of them. so I don't have to wreck my original. So it's like I can go as far as this, and maybe I say, well, you know, I'm not crazy about this edge that happened in here. So what if I do this? What if I bring this up into here? Or what if I take my brush, see, I'm twirling it to get a good point on it, delicate point, and I'm going to pull up rather than drawing this way. I'm going to, so I support my hand and I'm going to pull. So what I'm doing is this. And I might even want to turn the whole page upside down so that I get it going the right way. So if it's not rounded enough, I can go back in with this kind of dry brush effect. So it really is a combination of the accidental qualities, the softness of this, with then taking it into Photoshop and fixing the things that didn't work. You know, because what if I have, what if I'm trying to do a mink, you know, a mink stole, and I have one or two of these pelts that turned out just right, but the third one didn't? I could basically copy or use clone stamp of the pelts that are right and paint them onto the one that isn't, so that I don't have to wreck my original. And that's what always used to happen to all of us before, because we'd have to do cut and paste to put a new one on. This is so accidental that you just don't know what you're gonna get. So what I want to show you down here with the lamp black is things like backgrounds. It's like, that's really beautiful that that's happening in there, but I don't know what I'm gonna get. So what if because you see how it's sort of pooling? And as it dries, I mean, look at that. It's really a gorgeous thing. And this is India ink, which is different. See, it doesn't mix the same way. So you get all of these bleeds that happen, and this is gonna dry in a very unique pattern. So if I want just flat black, I'm not gonna do that. But the beauty of lamp black, this is what I wanted to find out, is which is blacker. Here's India ink. Here's lamp black. So when we let these dry, we'll see which one is denser and blacker. This is quite a beautiful, rich. You see how flat this starts to get?
The page, there's a shine mark on it.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay? All right.